I'll wait for you. 32 notifications.
Oh, we are going. We are going.
We're live, are we?
I think so. I'm
Oh,
waiting. I'm
folks.
looking for the notification to tell me. Yep, there we are. 100 Out is live now.
Oh, yes. No, hold on. I'm waiting for it on mine too. They're not telling me.
Here we are. Here we are. I know that Wendy is going to be there because she asked me if I was going to be there.
Oh, yes.
And,
Says, there it is. All right. That's good. That's good. All right.
Yep.
Hello, everybody in Facey Land.
Here she is. Summer's there. Summer's there. Wendy's there. Facey Land.
Oh, it's so nice. It's so nice. Do I get to see any comments? Can someone tell me? Julie Hill, you are live. Great. Thank you, Julie.
Yeah.
Great.
Julie Hill's
I'm definitely on delay. All right.
Yeah,
so
you'll be
good.
on delay. Yeah, you're on delay.
All right. Cool. Well, without further ado, do you want me to just kick off? Will we get started?
Yeah. Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Let's
Go
do
on.
this. Let's hit record. Thank you to all of our lovely Facebook legends for coming on. Mwah. We love you. All right. Here we go. In 3, 2, and 1. Welcome to 100 Not Out, a weekly show dedicated to helping you master the art of aging well. Marcus Pearce here with you. And as always, I just get a little bit tickled pink to be able to go down to Melbourne and speak to my brother from another mother. He is the guru of gurus. The gurus sit on their knees. Well, they don't sit on their knees. They kneel on their knees and pay homage to the great wellness legend himself, Guru Reishi Master, Dr. Damien Christoph. Hello, Guru. Three, Damien.
There's an unbelievable amount of dribble coming there. That's so great. Thanks, Piercy. I think I need a little bit of a prop up at the moment. Konnichiwa. Thank you very much. It was arigato. It's good.
Hey, let me do this.
How are you? How are you, Piercy?
I'm good. I have to show you someone. Come in here, because he doesn't get much of a look in these days. I know you can't see Spencer, but
Spencer, look at you, Spencer.
Are a whole tribe of people, a community of longevity lovebirds watching this, and you are a part of that community, boy. He's just brought in a bit of chalky milk. Which this is not going very well for all of those listening. Sorry that you can't see. Here you go, big boy. Over to mum. No. We might have the inevitable tears in a moment. Not sure. No, we got no tears. We're good. So there we go. Nothing like live, Damo. Nothing like live when you're in Facebook land. And I didn't tell Sarah that I was recording. So in fairness, she had no idea.
All good.
That was
always
happening.
Great to have a little bit of Sarah rock up and then to see little Spencer. How good's that? What a cute little kid he is. Gorgeous.
Now you've been in hiding because you've had a week of just studying like a mofo. You told me that you've been listening, reading a 300. Oh, mofo? No, I don't want to say.
Because it's rude, isn't it? I think mofo is rude.
It is rude. That's why I don't want to say, because we're a very clean podcast, aren't we? No, so you've been in, not only have you been in lockdown, you've also been in self-imposed cave time, study time. You've worked through a 385-page text. For someone that is the guru sensei Sri O Body Om of wellness, why are you developing? No, not why. It's not the right question. It is incredible that you are still developing your knowledge and going into the unknowns of unknowns to be even more incredible at what you do. Tell people what you've been doing.
Sure. Well, I've just completed doing this one here. So it's the Foundations of Lifestyle Medicine. It's the Lifestyle Medicine Board Review Manual. It's the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. So I've just finished reading that, like from front to back. Look at all those pages. Check all that out. And like if you look at it, it's just pages of dot points. Look at that.
Wow.
Not the people who are listening.
For all of our people listening on podcasts.
Yeah, bad image.
Right.
Yeah, imagine a textbook, 380 something pages long, all A4 pages, just full of dot points. That's all that there are, and stats. So I've just been punishing myself doing all that. So somebody asked me the other day, why are you doing it? And I said, well, it's probably not for my practice, to be honest with you. Like, I'm not going to practice with it. it's really because I think the next thing for me beyond being the next thing for me beyond being a chiropractor will be to, I think, probably start to work on policy or to start working on health promotion in the space. Hopefully, and we'll see where this goes. Helping the government make better policy decisions around health and
I'm
well-being.
telling
And
you,
food
you're the
nutrition,
next
right?
prime minister. You are
No,
the next prime minister.
there's no way.
You're going into
But
politics.
but
Tell us, you are going into politics.
I'm definitely not. But the reason why I'm doing it is because in higher levels, in whether it be medicine or healthcare or government or whatever else, like in all of those sort of situations, they look for higher level qualifications, and there's certain qualifications that they don't really like. So, they're not enamored with you being a chiropractor. They're not over the moon that you're a naturopath, and they couldn't give two shits or one if you're a nutritionist, to be honest with you, right? So I thought I've got to go and do something else that is master's level and gets me a higher level qualification, which is what this thing here is. So that's why I'm doing it. So I may get a chance to use some of it in practice. I've written some case studies. I've been doing some work with some people to see if it'll actually work. And
There's a case study calling you right now.
Yeah, how about that? It's just Australia Post is relentless, isn't it? Like they just ring the buzzer whenever they want to ring the buzzer. It's like when your baby's sleeping, they ring the buzzer. Don't press the bell. Anyway, who are these people?
Oh, that's a whole episode. That's a whole episode in itself.
That's what I've been doing. So I've been doing that. Yeah. So that's
give
been
us a
interesting.
scoop. You're a master. Tell us, what have you been learning specifically? Like, give me your wowzer. What was your wowzer in the 385 pages? What was the oh my gosh, or was it bereft of oh my gosh?
Well, what's funny is that as I started reading it in the early days of me signing up for this course, I was unaware that the course was very much centered around Loma Linda, like the University of Loma Linda. And so, sorry everybody, I keep getting distracted because Marcus has this thing, fingers to mouth, and it's just like he's gone from feeding his face with food to now drinking chocolate milk. And I'm so distracted right now. Like my stress levels are already really high. My stress levels are already so high living down here in Melbourne, and I've got Daniel Andrews out there doing his stuff, and now Marcus right in front of me is eating food in front of my face, like literally 30 centimeters away. It's like...
But I'm muting because I love you so much. I love you so much. I have muted you. I've muted me.
I'm gonna have to do this. I'm gonna have to not see it.
It's down. It's down. I don't want to add to anyone's stress level, particularly my Melburnian friends. It is gone. I'll pop it away from my arms. There you go. It's gone. Gone.
It's like a distraction. It's kind of like when you're speaking. Like I was speaking to Jackson the other day, and as I was speaking to him, I could see that his eyes were darting off to another screen or another area of his screen. I'm going, "What are you doing?" He goes, "I'm just typing to somebody else." I go, "That means you're not present. That means you're not with me."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like here I am. Yep. I'm trying to tell a story, and you're sipping chocolate milk. So I'm going, "Is he listening to me? Who am I talking to here?" I don't really know. So I think that's what was going on through my mind just then. Tell me if I'm weird, everybody. Tell me if I'm weird. For those who are watching live, tell me if I'm weird. Happy to be told that I'm weird. Totally fine.
We're all unique, Damien, Mr. Masticophobia.
I do have it. I think it's actually heightened at the moment. Anyway, so it was all Loma Linda-ish, which in layman's terms is very vegetarian. So that whole vegetarian piece for me was challenging because I've obviously studied a lot of nutrition and have kind of understand the role of vegetarianism, understand the role of, say, blood type, the role of keto, the role of paleo, and where each of these different eating programs can be, put into somebody's lifestyle to help them. So then they go and present evidence about reversal of type 2 diabetes using diet, and then reversal of cardiovascular disease using diet. But it's got a very much a flavour of Loma Linda. So then I'm going, well, I know that I can apply other types of diets to this and still achieve the same sorts of results. So the aha moments for me were learning about how when you apply these different sorts of diets, understanding scales of readiness for people. So I think that when somebody comes to see me, that they're ready, but they may not be ready yet. They're just coming to see me. So that was a really big aha moment to kind of realize that some people aren't actually necessarily ready, even though they're having a consultation with you. So the psychology of health was really interesting. And then, the impact of movement, the statistics around movement, how much movement you've actually got to do for it to actually impact on your weight. So it's quite a significant amount of exercise. It's something like 45 minutes of moderate exercise on average per day over the space of a week. To actually shift about 5% of your total weight, like over a period of time. So it's quite a lot of exercise to actually achieve weight loss, and then obviously cardiovascular reversal and disease reversal and all that sort of stuff. So I just found all that sort of stuff fascinating because it's just, it's advancement on stuff that I've already learned, but it was also just tying in, I suppose, some loose ends around, different eating programs. So I think it was interesting.
All right, this is good. This is really good. And you're getting a lot of comments saying that you are not weird, which is very reassuring. Now, you mentioned two
Thanks,
terms in
everybody.
there, or two items that I think is really important that I would love to ask you about. And actually, for those watching us on Facebook, it's at 100 Not Out. Spell it all out if you want to come and join us on a Wednesday at 3 o'clock. Scale of readiness. I reckon this is the Pandora's box of health, wellness, and personal growth. A lot of
Yeah.
us go on a diet thinking that we're ready, but in our heart of hearts, we are actually low in the scale of readiness. We
Yeah.
go to a health professional, whether it's a naturopath or a chiro or anyone,
Yeah.
thinking that we're ready, but our scale of genuine readiness is a lot lower than what we'd like to admit.
Yeah.
I'd like our listeners and our viewers to ponder that. Like the things that you say you want to do, are you genuinely ready to do it? Because genuine readiness versus socially acceptable readiness is such a different thing. And I'd love your insight on this, Damo, around dieting. The scale of readiness for someone that says, I'm going on a diet, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. The gunner scale of readiness is often at 10 out of 10. But then I'm sure you see this in practice where the genuine readiness is a lot lower, and that becomes evident when you see them on subsequent visits. Is it something that you feel like you can identify with people? Like that term, I'm like, whoa, that's a great term. You could bring that into conversation with people, educate them on the scale of readiness, and maybe they weren't as ready as they thought they were. And that's not a bad thing. It's just good to be aware of where we are. Like, is that the type of stuff that you think is what, people want or need? Because as I'm listening to you talk about it, I'm like, whoa, that's really quite powerful.
Yeah, it's really powerful because when it comes to behavioural change, this whole readiness paradigm talks about pre-contemplative phases through to pre-contemplation to contemplation to preparation to implementation and so on and so forth. And then you can fall out of each of those cycles as you're going along. So once you've started, you might fall out of that. You might regress and go back. So let's say, for example, you've lost 30 kilos and then you go and put on 10 or 15 kilos, you could quite easily go, oh my gosh, I've wrecked it. But if you identify that you're just going around in a circle at the moment and you're going back into another phase of either pre-contemplation or contemplation, getting ready to go and do another cycle of what you've got to do to get right, that's softer on your body than actually just saying, oh, that failed for me. So I think it was really nice to just, recognize that once you've pushed go, doesn't mean you've always got to be going. You're not 100 miles an hour, pedal to the metal. You've got to stop from time to time, put some fuel in the tank, all that sort of stuff. So I think this is a really important piece around that. So you're not always going to be ready to do what you need to do, and what you need to do is not necessarily going to be the thing that you're going to do, and what you're going to do is not necessarily the thing that you need to be doing. So there's a whole lot of different bits there that are, I think, associated more with the psychology of change, as opposed to the desire to change. Because I think most people have got a desire to be different than what they actually are, and so that's not any reflection on your readiness. It's just that you've got that desire.
So speaking of desire, and there's some really good comments coming through here. Wendy says, unless you're in the right headspace, you cannot make the changes you need to and want to. You've got to stop the BS in your head. I mean, this is the stuff this generally comes down to what you just mentioned in desire. So you mentioned these 4 phases: pre-contemplative, contemplative, preparation, and implementation. Now, based on those 4, where is desire? Because I'm thinking of my own life at the moment. My movement is nowhere near where it needs to be, particularly as you mentioned, 45 minutes a day. Is desire in contemplative? Because I'm listening to what exactly would pre-contemplative be?
Yeah, pre-contemplative is not really noticing that something needs to change. And so you're kind of not even on the page that something needs to change or that you want to change, So you're not even ready to do that. You're nowhere near it. The contemplative stage is kind of where you go, yeah, okay, definitely need to move more. That's something I do want to do. I want to move more. That's different to saying, I want to lose weight. So that's different because if you said I want to be fit, that's probably still pre-contemplative. But in order to be fit, you realize that you've got to move more. To move into the what is it? Pre-contemplative.
Contemplative.
To move into the contemplative stage in losing weight, you've got to kind of already identify that you need to cut back on something. So you go, I've got to cut back on ice cream, or I've got to cut back on coffees, or I've got to cut back on blah, blah, blah. And so that's your contemplation stage. And then you get to your, the stage where you start to plan all that out. And so you plan all that sort of stuff out. Then you go into implementation. And then there's another 2 steps, but this is also fresh in my head that I've got to reorganize a whole lot again. But there's another 2 steps in this whole
This is like a tutorial.
behavioral change.
This is like a tutorial for your masters. Where I hope you should be getting points for this. I hope you get credits.
Maybe.
Because
maybe.
I know, just listening to you talk, I know for me, I have been contemplating this a 30-day movement. It's just literally 30 days. It's Body Coach TV. If anyone is interested, it's like 10 or 15 minutes a day, a bit like yoga with Adrian Damo, but with Joe, the body coach. I've done it once before, and I'm like, I've kind of just gone a bit slack. And I'm definitely noticing that I'm not fulfilling even the minimum requirements for movement. And so I'm contemplating, do I do the 30-day course or do I do something else? So that's the example of contemplative, correct? And then preparation is, what time will I do it? Will I do it in the morning? Is it something that I'd be prepared to do in the middle of the day, which for me it isn't? So I'm beginning to go, all right, what time will I get up? What are the challenges? Like if Darby or Tommy wake up early and they want to do this and that and all. So that's the preparation time, is it not? Where you're actually beginning to work out. It's something specific. So you're not saying, do I want to lose weight or do I want to move more? You've contemplated past that. You've ended with desire, I suppose, to move into preparation and go, right, I'm now like I don't want to say I'm committed to it because I know that's not necessarily genuine, but you're working through it. You're working it out. You're preparing for it. And then implementation is naturally enough. That's the implementation. That's doing it. But I love this, what you're talking about, because I feel like for all of us, it's actually good to know in any area of life what stage you're in, because we don't beat ourselves over the head when it doesn't happen. Like so many people probably try and jump from contemplative to implementation without doing any prep work, and then they wonder why they fell apart. It's because they didn't actually do the necessary steps to sustain it. And I'm wondering if maybe one of those second steps that we haven't spoken about is the sustainability. Once you implement it, how do you maintain it?
Yeah, there's a bit of that maintenance phase for sure. But I think the other thing is too that a lot of people, once they start something, they believe that because they've started it, they've now got to succeed at it. And then if they're not succeeding at it, they shy away and they don't continue with it. So, and then they go, then it's like they've pulled up the stumps and they've taken the cricket bat and they've walked home. And nobody's, and everyone's going, how come, what happened to Johnny? Where's MP gone? Oh, he left, he took his stumps and his cricket bat. Oh, how come? Oh, he wasn't making runs. It's that sort of thing. Instead of actually asking for a little bit of help and saying, hey, give me a hand here, they just kind of duck and weave and try and move out of that space. So that's it's really obvious when you see that, when you're reading this book or when you're reading through these chapters of behavioral change, because you realize that this is normal behavior. This is what people do, but it's also avoidable behavior, because what you and I talk about is social support and structures and community and conversation and all of those things that are, I suppose, parts of the fabric of longevity, which is all around psychology, is probably the protective barrier for falling off the wagon. You know what I mean? So,
well, speaking of falling off the wagon, you mentioned 45 minutes per day of moderate exercise. Now, I would love to know from the people that are watching this on Facebook, pop in the comments if you feel comfortable. If you are doing 45 minutes of moderate exercise on average each day. Now, you're saying 7 days, Damo? 5 days, 6 days, 7 days?
Yeah, look, to lose weight, it's every day.
To lose weight,
yeah.
Okay, yeah. So this is in specific to weight.
Yeah, but to stay healthy, it's 30 minutes a day of moderate exercise.
Yeah.
Up to 4 times a week, and then you could also be doing a high intensity interval training if you wanted to, and you could be doing some stretching and some other bits and pieces. But essentially, they need to be moving every single day just to stay healthy and well. So moderate exercise is the amount of exercise that you get to that you could speak but not sing. So you could be speaking to somebody, but you wouldn't be able to sing a tune. That's essentially what moderate exercise is described as, right? And then you go to the next level of exercise, which would be heavy exercise, which is where you could breathe, but you couldn't speak or sing. So that's kind of a nice little indicator. Like a nice brisk walk, you should be able to sing. And you want to be doing more of that to be helping your body out. But that's not necessarily going to get you cardiovascular fit. It's going to keep you moving, but it won't get you cardiovascular fit.
And the last question on this, before we wrap, is there any reference to what you've been studying about the seasons? I'm about to sneeze in a moment, speaking of which, the seasons and movement. Because in winter, most people would move less than in summer. So is there any reference to the seasons and movement? Because I would hazard a guess. I know for weight loss, it would be no matter the day, no matter the month, no matter the time of the year. But either in the book or in your studies or insight, is there any conversation about the duration, frequency of movement in relation to the time of the year?
Not necessarily, no. And I know you love to talk about moon cycles and all those sorts of things. It's been interesting because I've been moving and walking every single day. So we get up at the same time every single day. We go for a walk. I take a photo every single day in the same spot of the city from Brighton. I've got this unbelievable collection of all these different photos on different days of the city from this point in Brighton. It looks really cool. So you see clouds, some days there's sunshine. There was a period of time there where the sun actually wasn't getting up in time for me to take the photo. I was still taking the photo, but it was still dark. Like, it was some really cool, photos. The one thing that I noticed though, and I've noticed more and more, is that depending on where the moon is, often determines, the amount of people that are out. So maybe there's something to do with moon cycles and people being able to wake up at the right time or, get exercising or whatever. But no, you just need to exercise. That's really what it comes down to. And this is coming from a guy who always thought that you just had to eat well. I was never really, I've exercised and I've ridden bikes and I've done triathlon and, I've been fit and all that sort of stuff. And I can do chin-ups and, all that sort of stuff that Cale Brock does. I can do all those sorts of things, except the splits and surf. But I've never really loved going out for a long ride, or never really loved going out for a long run. Like, I'll go for a long walk. Like, I love that, but I never really loved the idea of it. I'll go out for a long game of golf, no problems. But
don't you think that's okay? Like, I think that's wonderful. I don't think that's bad or lacking in any way.
In terms of longevity, yes, absolutely. But when you read this book and it talks about the reduction of chronic health conditions, so we're talking diabetes, cardiovascular disease and cancer, their whole thing is the amount of exercise that you do is unbelievably important, and the type of exercise that you do is unbelievably important, and that's based on the science. So, as I've said this before, you can science the shit out of a whole lot of stuff, but you can't beat nature. So if you look at what your body's actually craving and desiring and needing, like if you're interpreting exactly what your body wants, and you, bless you, I'm so glad you got that out. I can see that just hanging around.
I'm muted.
No, but I know, but it was good to see
No one
that you
heard
just
that
got it
or
out.
saw that.
No.
It was only a
everyone
cough.
would have seen that.
The sneeze is still hanging around.
You better go
That's
get
okay.
tested. In Victoria, you'd have to go get tested because the slightest symptom, you have to go get tested. Even if all you do is sneeze, you have to go get tested here in Victoria because we're trying to find every single person with COVID. And if we don't, then they're still out there. Anyway, so it's been fascinating. So I've always been about food and not so much movement. But looking at the Icarian lifestyle, the Sardinians, even looking now, I suppose, at the Loma Lindens. When you look at the Loma Lindens in Cale's documentary, the longevity film, some of them were pretty big, mate. Some of them were very big
units,
people.
yeah, absolutely.
So clearly I think they think it's about avoidance of chronic disease. Does that make sense? So it's more about,
that's like saying if you don't have a chronic disease, then you're healthy. That's the paradigm.
Well, and I wrote that in my case study. I said in Australia, people are happy eating the standard Australian diet, the SAD diet. They're happy eating that because it's considered to be healthy until they've been diagnosed with a disease. Then once they've been diagnosed with a disease, they're told that it's genetic. And because it's genetic, it wouldn't have been their fault anyway, so don't worry, you could have done whatever you needed to do, so just take these drugs. That whole paradigm is flawed, right? So, and this is where I suppose I see, what could be happening in Loma Linda, which is California, and you look at people in California who are overweight, significantly overweight, but may live a long time because they don't get the diseases, these chronic health conditions, maybe because they exercise enough. And there is this paradox where people are overweight. So somebody who is overweight but fit has better longevity than someone who is normal weight but not fit. So I found that really interesting as well. So fitness is key.
Fitness is key. I am grateful, and I'm sure all of our listeners and our viewers on Facebook are grateful for you just diving right into the Masters. Sight unseen. We didn't prep you for this. We didn't give you any warning. We just started barreling you with questions, and you've delivered, over-delivered, as always. Scales of readiness, the power of movement, the challenge of paradigms and where you live. Are you healthy if you don't have a chronic disease? Another mind bender, Damo. Thanks again, you dead set legend.
Thanks, PC. Thanks for having a little chat about that. I did actually have some topics I wanted to talk about. There was some interesting things. So maybe
this is
we
not
can
the
have
end.
a chat about that. We have a chat about it because there's some really.
This is not the end. Big thank you.
I was contemplating as I was walking the other morning just about some stuff, and I was just fascinated with just different behaviours. And so I thought, it might be worth talking about different behaviours in what people do. Obviously, when people are stressed, they're less compassionate. So there's things that are going on at the moment.
That's a topic. That's a topic for a podcast for sure. Wendy Stewart says, Damo, just awesome. Lisa Patrick says, awesome. Callie Brown, hello to you, legend. She runs for 45 minutes a day, running after the kids, making beds, hanging out laundry whilst their daughter sings. That is the definitely the parents exercise. Thanks to everyone for being involved in the Facebook chatter. Julie Hill, Summer Daily, Wendy Stewart, everyone in there. That is very kind of you. We are. We're over about 4 million
today. No Ravi
gosh,
today.
A shout out to the people that aren't listening. No Ravi. Fabulous topic, says
Pete
Debbie.
Lennon's there. Pete.
Good work on your Pete.
Yep. Thank you.
Lots
Heidi
of
Binder.
legends in there. On your Heidi. Wonderful. Robin. I am going to attempt to wind up this podcast, folks. We'll hang on in Facebook, so don't go anywhere. We'll just end this episode of 100 Not Out by saying thank you to all of our loyal listeners for being part of the 100 Not Out community. We love you, and we send you all of our love and best wishes at these times. I reckon Damo is a dead set legend and one of the most knowledgeable people you will ever meet. So go and find out more about him by going to www.damienchristoph.com. For myself, head on over to marcuspierce.com.au. To everyone that makes this podcast possible, thank you to you. And until next week, as always, continue to make the rest of your life the best of your life. Bye for now.
Bye for now.
All right.
Alrighty, Piercy.
That's good. We're still in
Thanks, everybody.
Facebook
Thanks
land.
for sticking around. Yeah, we're still in Facebook land. Thanks for everyone to stick around.
That's good.
Let's open up some questions. I'd love to take some questions from people that are there because Summer Daly said before, do I really think that blood type has anything to do with, what did she say? I'll ask her whole question.
You answer it whilst I blow my nose. I'll mute as well.
Do you think blood type really does play a role in diet for people? And my answer is yes. I've been using blood type as a tool to help people, I suppose, decide on the foods that they should or could eat for about 25 years now. And it's a great little guide because when you reflect on genotypes and phenotypes and how we have actually evolved, one of the clearest ways to see that we've evolved is just by looking at the blood type. And so when you consider your blood type, you can see whether or not you've gone down a route of Paleolithic modelling, or if you've gone down the route of a vegetarian, vegan model of intergenerational change and evolution, or some kind of combination of those. So A, B, and B are the other types of blood types. There's no doubt that that's not a clear science, and there's no doubt that is not 100% scientifically true and accurate. However, I use it as an indicator to help me out, and I do because it works. It works really well, actually. It works really, really well as a guide. You can get more specific. You can go down the gene thing, but you can see where you go. Yeah. So anyway, I've answered that one.
If you want to get a high case of anxiety, stress, frustration that your genes don't express themselves fully when you have a morsel of avocado, and if you dare have a piece of chocolate, then you might be putting your genotype at risk because the genome that you've been dealt is not advanced enough to absorb and digest and assimilate the nutrients of the modern Australian diet. And if you even dare have a chia seed, then you might develop an autoimmune condition.
This is it. So that's what happens when you go down the full DNA route. You get a little bit too much data, a little bit too much detail with emerging research. There's a lot more to come with all of that. I think that whilst we were all pretty excited about epigenetics off the back of things that Bruce Lipton was doing, I think he's gone back to the idea that epigenetic control really comes from stress and calmness and gratitude and happiness. And whilst there is a chemical component to epigenetic control, which we do see, and I was reading all about that in this manual here, there's definitely an epigenetic conversation to be had because you can influence the way in which your genes work. In fact, there's been some study to look at the reproduction of your beta cells in your pancreas through significant calorie restriction. So if you do significant calorie restriction, you can basically repair your pancreas. So that was quite cool to see. So you can actually get your genes to behave better. And you just obviously have to change your environment. That's epigenetic control. One way to understand more about that is your blood type, of course, and then you can go down the rabbit hole to do nutrigenomic profiling, for sure. But there's no other questions coming in, PC. People are scared to ask.
That's all right. That's good. We've given them heaps. They need some time to think now, as you've just burst our brains a little. So I think we wrap. And we give a big thank you and love to all of our Facebook community that we are loving these Facebook lives. So I think that's the best part. We'll come back next week. Gene Kitson next week. If you watched the Big Gig growing up, if you've watched anything with Australian comedians, Gene Kitson has written a great book called We Need to Talk About Mum and Dad. She also wrote a great book about menopause. What was it called? Hold on a minute. I'll tell you what it was called.
You're still hot.
Yeah, something. You're still hot. You're still hot to me. That was in 2014. But she is cool. An angel and an absolute laugh. So next week might go down as one of our funniest but also enlightening episodes because we're going to talk about some serious topics, but with some humour.
Debbie Bunyard went to school there. How good is that?
Oh, that's the best.
That's the best.
Yeah, I saw she was born in Lilydale. My research was showing. So there you go. You must come on next week, Debbie. You must come on next week.
Yeah, get all your schoolmates on. Do a reunion.
Yes, have a school reunion on Facebook at 100 Not Out.
Do a watch party. Have a watch party.
Go on.
There you go.
Go on, Debbie. It's on you now. 3 o'clock next Wednesday.
We dare you.
All right.
Go on, Debs.
Go on. We double dare you.
Yeah.
There's chocolate.
Physical challenge.
Yeah.
Physical challenge.
I'll try. As
All
John
right.
Kennedy would say, the great famous coach, just do it, Debbie.
Don't
Do.
try. Don't try. Do.
Do, Debbie. All right. See you,
See
legends.
you, PSE. Bye, everybody.
Bye, 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 bye.